feels like we're back in Madison.
Yeah, right? I was going to say, I thought that was the highlight of your career, to co-host a coach's show.
Oh, it kind of was, that was, being able to be there on that. Boy, that was, I actually had hair and mustache at that time.
You did. Yes, you did.
But, it's, I just want to say I appreciate everybody turning out. For me, this is a very bittersweet moment, obviously. I've had quite a career, and I appreciate everything that anybody has ever done for me during that career. It's been 48 years in college athletics, and I certainly don't believe that even though I'm walking out into retirement in May, I don't really think that I will be a stranger to any kind of Maverick athletic event or be a stranger to athletic activities in the community because you've given your life that much to it, and it's something that's in your blood, and it's something that you never really want to, give up. I loved every minute of it. I said I've loved every minute I've worked, and there was never a day in my career that I ever felt I got up in the morning and dreaded going to work. Wins and losses didn't matter. It was all about being able to live another day in the sports world because it's a great thing to do. I entered coaching not with any grand ideas of what would happen to me throughout my career or any great success. It was really all about the opportunity to work with young people, help them achieve their goals, help them grow. It's really it's an interesting thing when you're in college athletics, especially in the years that I was involved from the 1970s to now. It was really a special thing to be able to work with a young person as they're making that transition from being in their homes with their families under the guidance of their parents and helping them transition to that place where they're adults and making their own decisions. And that was truly a special thing for me and something I will always cherish. I also am really grateful for the opportunity I had here at UNO to come in 1996 and to start a program from scratch. You look at very few people ever have the opportunity to start something that never existed, to be able to see through for the first 12, 13 years, we used to count the year we recruited a team, 13 years of existence, and then be there 28 years later still helping to make decisions to guide that program. So I've really been blessed. I can only thank, all the different athletic directors going back to Don Leahy and Del Weber who helped get this thing off the ground, the supporters in the community who helped get this program started. Certainly the coaching staff I had when we started back with David Quinn and Steve Rawlick, now the head coach at Ohio State, and John Fletcher and Danny Gass and that crew, that Mark Payne and Rusty McCune, that group we started with here, and all the players that came in those first years that believed that we could have a Division I program and have a program that would be successful. And be successful in the toughest leagues in the country, in the CCHA, then the WCHA, and now the NCHC. Those people who believed in this program, they're all very special to me, and I'm just so grateful to have the opportunity to have had some bit of their lives.
What are you most, you've done so much, but maybe if you could pinpoint one or two things, what are you most proud of about what you've done?
I've always said one of the things the thing I'm most proud of with this program here is when I look out, like last night I was at my grandson's hockey game, his mite game, and I look out on the ice and I see 5, 6 of our former players that played for me out there giving back to the community. And what I'm most proud of is the number of players that we had going back to 1996 who came to this community because they all came from someplace else. They all came here, put down roots, graduated from UNO, got degrees, got jobs in the community, and then have stayed here and given back to the community. To me, that's the thing I'm most proud of.
What story haven't you told? I'm sure there's a lot of them, but is there anything that comes to mind? You're like, okay, I was waiting until my retirement when I told this one.
You know, I'm not that good at those kind of things. I don't know that I have thought of one that I would throw out there over the years. There's been a lot of them, you're right. Someday we'll sit around and have a beer and I'll tell you a ton of them. But, you know, I think probably, you know, there's been so many things that have gone down the pike here over the years. And I just know that, you know, I have been so blessed to be surrounded by so many good people. You know, and it's like I said, it started back with Del Weber, Don Leahy, Connie Clausen. You know, to be able to be involved with those people, to have those people influence your life, yeah, I mean, it's impactful. And I've had so many people before I got here that really had those kind of impacts on me as well. You know, Bob Johnson, Jeff Sauer, Don Roberts. You know, I'm just a guy who got lucky.
We have to remind people that the journey in Omaha actually began 21 years or so before this program was started, because you were across the street at Exarban Coliseum with the club team.
You know, that's kind of funny that you bring it up, Terry. And Bridget, that might be one of those stories. I mean, you go back, I was never expected to be coaching. I mean, I was not going to be a college hockey coach. That was not my career path. When I was graduating from college, my expectation was to go back, go to work for my dad and his business in Duluth, and take that over. That was kind of my long-range plan. But I was back there, graduated, and got back. I was working for my dad, delivering oil, and I got a call from my college coach who said he got a contact from UNO. They were looking for a club hockey coach, and this would have been the fall of 1975. And I went back to my dad and said, "Hey, Dad, you know, hockey's not out of my blood. Do you think I could go back and take this, and when the season's over, I'll come back and go back to work for you?" So he said, "Yeah, go ahead. Come back when you're done." So I come down to Omaha. It was I got a chance to go to work and coach the club hockey team in the 75-76 season. A lot of the guys are still here. A lot of those people I've still kept in contact with over the years. And it's been funny. I used to always say with that team, it was the largest collection of human debris ever assembled. That's what I explained our team as. But we went out and we had a great year. I mean, it was a lot of fun. And at the end of the year, the target at that point in time in 1975-76 was within the vision of Jack Webster, who was the general manager. He was an insurance man in town, who was the general manager of the club team. It was his goal to see varsity hockey at UNO at that time. And our goal, and I was out recruiting players to come and play in that program. And so we went out and tried to recruit those players, had some kids committed. And then when the spring came, Title IX came into effect, and Don actually was the athletic director here at that time, his first round as the athletic director of UNO. And he said, "Mike, we're not going to be able to move forward with the program. You know, we have Title IX issues, and it's just not going to fit." And so at that point in time, I went back to Duluth with my tail between my legs, and fully anticipating that there was never going to be an opportunity here. So then make a long story short, I went back to work for my dad. Later that summer, my college coach calls and says, "I lost my assistant. Would you come down and coach with me?" And I went back to my dad again and said, "Can I have a little more break? It's only going to be a year or two." And 5 years later, Bob Johnson called me right after they won the 1981 national championship and said, "I have an opening on my staff. Would you like to interview?" And I interviewed, and he hired me, which was a miracle in and of itself. Here, a D3 assistant coach gets hired to coach at the national championship Wisconsin Badgers. My dream job, and little did my dad know I was never going back to work for him again.
You know, you see where hockey is now and where you started. I mean, how happy does it make you walk into this arena, see pride that you've seen this program evolve to? I mean, how happy are you with the state of the program right now?
You know, it's one of those things where, you know, I can't ever describe the pride I have in what we've done here. Do I think we're done? No, absolutely not. The future is still ahead of us. But what we've done to this point in time, I'm very, very proud of. You know, I look at, you know, all of the things that we have done over the years, and, you know, it's just something that to think that I've been able to be a part of it is something that is beyond belief.
Speaking of accomplishments, Shirley Five famously said that you had a binder with a 5-year plan when you came in for your interview the second time around, and of course knowing that it hadn't worked out the first time. What was in the binder, and did you accomplish all the things that were in it?
Well, one of the things is, you know, it was interesting, that whole interview process. I didn't apply. This is another story. It was like we were at the American Hockey Coaches Association convention, and I was thinking, you know, I heard talk about that Omaha was going to start a hockey team. And my thought process, and I told people this, I said, I was there back in 75, 76. They said this too. It's never going to happen. They're blowing smoke. And I got back to Madison in mid-May, and I kept thinking about it, and I saw it was out. There was there was an announcement. They were, you know, had an open, you know, they were taking applications, and it got to really late. It was like a couple days before they were going to close applications. And I thought, well, I'll call Don Leahy up and see if this is really for real. And I called him up, talked to him on the phone, and I came back and said, okay, I'm going to try. So I sent an application in. I think I'm almost sure I was the last person selected for an interview. And I was the last interview. And part of the interview process, they asked for a 5-year plan. Put together a dossier. I still have it. And it was everything. It was, how are you going to recruit? How are you going to schedule? What's your budget? It was all of these things put together, and I put it I was fortunate to be married at that point in time. She wasn't a CPA at that point in time. She was acting accountant before she went to education, but she helped me put together the budget, and we worked on the long-range vision of the program and what was our 5-year plan. And I gave that and presented it to the committee. And, you know, another great story. The day that I was interviewing, I was down at the Magnolia, was where they put us up. And I come down to breakfast. Dick Flynn, who was the faculty rep at that time, was going to meet me for breakfast. And I come down, I'm all spiffed up for the day. I'm leaving right afterwards because I got to get out to Lake Placid, New York for the Select 17 tryouts, recruiting for Wisconsin. And I go down and I show up for breakfast, and the first thing Dick Flynn says to me, he goes, Mike, you didn't see the paper this morning, did you? I said, no, I haven't. Oh, good. Never said another word about it. So then when we get done through the whole day of interviews, and I get to the airport, and I better get a newspaper. I pull up the newspaper, and the headline was, Frank Serratori to get the Maverick job. Kemp to interview today was underneath it. So I get on the plane and fly out to New York, and the next day, I get up. I mean, I didn't get into Lake Placid till like 6 in the morning because I had to fly into LaGuardia, drive from LaGuardia up to Lake Placid. I get a call later in that day where they offered me the job, and it was like I spent the whole rest of that day in the hotel room. I never really got out to see the Select 17, so I got to turn around, come back here for the job announcement. But the interesting thing was that 5-year plan. When I go back and look at it, we did virtually everything that was in it. So that was another thing that, heck, I don't know, maybe it was luck, but I was certainly proud of the fact that we came in and presented what we were going to do. And in the 5-year period, the 5-year plan, we did it.
Mike, first, I did not write that Serratori story.
Glad to hear that.
Second, was there anything specific that made you think that, yeah, now's the time for me to be retiring?
Well, it was, I'm 71 years old. My wife retired 2 years ago. Actually, August of a year and a half ago from her high school principalship. And it just kind of, it's more of a time for me to, while I'm healthy, to do some of the things I want to do. I got a beautiful home in northern Wisconsin, that we spend our summers at. I haven't spent a whole summer there since I was 25 years old. Those kind of things that we really want to do. We want to do some traveling. Trust me, I've told Adrian that I am going to want to do any kind of projects he would like to have done around here. This building, the program. They've been a huge part of my life, not just my life, my family's. And I'll never be very far from it. The problem is I'll probably, now that I won't have anything to do in the winter, I'll probably be here way more than what the coaches are going to want me to be around. So I really look at it from that perspective. The one thing, I probably would have retired a year ago. But, 4 or 5 years ago, I can't remember what it was now, when I was one of my first years on the NCAA ice hockey committee, we put in a bid for the regional in Sioux Falls, and I couldn't walk out knowing that I put the bid in and then leave it for everybody else to do. So I wanted to make sure I stayed through this year to see through our commitment to do that regional in Sioux Falls. And I'll probably, when we host it again in 26, I'll probably volunteer to do it again. That was, I would have probably retired a year ago if it wasn't for that.
Family's obviously really important to you too. I remember one of your daughters sitting on your lap during Blue Line Club meetings 20 years ago. They're obviously too big to do that now.
Yeah.
How important is it for you to be able to spend some time with your grandkids?
Oh, it's huge. I have 3 grandchildren here and 3 in Minnesota, and I had my oldest one here, Charlie's 8. I had him out on the ice Monday when it was Parents' Day, or President's Day, I should say. Get him out there to work on skills with him. It is. They come to the games. I'm with them at the games most of the time, and our kids from Minnesota come down when they can. My grandson from Minnesota, who's also just turned 8. First thing he asked, my daughter told them about yesterday. First thing he said was, "Well, who are we going to cheer for now?" And she goes, "Well, we're still going to cheer for the Mavericks." So yeah, we'll be spending a lot of time with them on all different areas.
You might have to start a workout program, Mike, because you put in a lot of miles pacing back and forth up in that press box.
I do. I still do, and I probably will in the future. That's not going to change either. I'm sure I'll be up in the press box, and I'll be anxious and like I always am. It just doesn't go away. I thought I would get out of it when I got done coaching. Nah, it's worse. At least when I was coaching, I had some control. Not a lot, but I had a little. Now I don't, so it's even worse.
Madison, a great city, of course, and Omaha, a great city. Has it turned out for you and Julie and the girls, and now the extended family, pretty much as you thought it would be? Did you realize how special this town is?
It's an odd thing, and I can't describe it. I can't really describe it. But after I left in '76, I always felt I was going to be back here for some reason, and I don't know why, because I didn't have a connection here. And, Modo McLean and Jake Forbes and those guys used to have me come back and do a hockey school for like the 5 years after I left coaching the club team. I would bring a group down here and do a 2-week hockey school every summer. So we always had that connection of coming back here. but I never really, I didn't, there was not anything I thought was going to lure me back here. But, lo and behold, the opportunity came. And, I always knew it was a great city, but when we came here with our children, our oldest daughter was 7, I think at the time. They were in 1st and 4th grade, or she might have been 8. But, we learned real quickly this is a phenomenal city to raise a family. It's a wonderful community. And, my wife and I have made a, commitment that this is going to be our home. This is home now. There is not another city. We've lived in, we're both from northern Minnesota. We had a great time in St. Peter, Minnesota when we were there at school, and I, of course, coached there for 5 years afterwards. We were in Madison for 14 years. But no, Omaha's home. We're always going to be here. It's a spectacular place. We love it.
Obviously, Gabinet coached him, mentored him. What does he mean to the future of the program in terms of your legacy?
Well, I mean, it's I can't describe how special it is to have, the head coach and the associate head coach, both former players of mine, guys I recruited. It's kind of like when Steve Rollick was on my staff here in the first 3 years of the program. He was a kid I recruited out of high school at 18. I coached him for 4 years at Wisconsin. He was captain of our national championship team. To have those people that are with you throughout that, it is incredible because it's a bond that can't be broken. I can say things to them that other people might be offended by, that they won't be offended because they know it's coming from Coach. And to me, that's it's a privilege. It's a blessing. It's also a legacy that I feel is something that will also bond me and bond us together forever, and that's very special.
Coach, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, thanks, Andy. Appreciate it. I appreciate you coming.
We'll have to schedule those appears for all those stories, right?
Yeah.